Hi there, this is another in our series of short videos looking at how you could respond to exam style questions, including some real exam questions from previous years. In this case, we're taking a look at a fairly recent question from 2019, which was a 9-mark analysis question on paper 2 in relation to the link between strategic decisions and a concept called market capitalisation. So let's take a look. Here was the question on the screen there. And you may want to pause your video at various stages during this exercise just to maybe plan or think about what the question is asking or consider how you might respond. Don't forget, with every question, we need to unpick the demands of the question to work out firstly what it's about, the starting point, the knowledge that we need to show, where our arguments need to get to, the hows and the whys to get to the end point, and also taking some time to think about the wording, what we have to focus on, and how many arguments are expected, the so-called scope of the question. Just looking at this question here, the starting point is fairly easy. The case study business has made a decision to move into a new market. So a strategic decision, a new market entry. Where do we need to get to? Well, this is the key bit here. The end point is we need to make the link between the new market entry and the market capitalisation of the company. So market capitalisation is the end point for our arguments. Looking at what the question asks us to focus on, the key thing here is to pick out the word impact. The impact on the market capitalisation. Now don't forget, the impact could be either negative or positive. So positive would be an increase in market capitalisation, negative would be a fall in market capitalisation. And as it turns out, you could choose either of those as an argument to develop, because the scope of the question, how many arguments? Well, it said here, analyse the possible impact. Impact is singular, therefore we only needed one argument to respond to this question. If you wrote 2, that's fine, but one argument would be enough to be able to get to the level 3 between 7 and 9 marks. So just one impact. So we know what the question's all about. The key here was and this is where students struggled, was the concept of market capitalisation. A lot of students confuse that with market share, for example. It's a very different concept. Market capitalisation is the value of a company, and it's calculated by reference to the formula there on the screen. Market capitalisation is the share price per share multiplied by the number of shares that there are that you can buy, and that gives you the market capitalisation or the value of the business. And typically with market capitalisation, it's easier for you to think about what might change the share price of the company as being the best way to think about impacts on market capitalisation. And I've just put on the screen there, again, you may want to pause the video, maybe jot down some extra bits into your notes on market cap. The factors that affect a share price are both, or can be, within the company's control, i.e. as a result of the decisions that management take. But they can also be, they are outside of the company's control. There's nothing you can do about it. The stock market falls. There are other factors outside of management's control. For this question, we really needed to focus here on factors that were within the company's control, because we wanted to make a link. If we just go back to that question, let's go forward to the question, a link between management's decision to enter the market and how that might impact, either positive or negative, on market capitalisation. So we had to think about factors that might affect the share price based on management's control. Now again, you may want to pause the video here, just think about some possible points. Don't forget, we only needed one argument to enable us to get to hopefully to level 3. I've put 2 on the screen here. I'll get this clicker to work in a minute. I've put 2 on the screen here, one of which is an argument you could develop which would help you explain how the market entry decision led to a positive impact on market capitalisation. In this case, we're arguing that the share price and therefore market cap rises because investors like what they see. They see the potential for future profit growth, perhaps higher profits and even higher dividends paid to shareholders as a consequence of the decision. And you could argue that, and I'm going to show you an example of that in a few seconds. Conversely, you could also argue that there will be a negative impact of the decision. In this case, perhaps because investors see greater risk, perhaps a risk of lower profits or higher costs, losses even, as a result of taking the decision to enter a new market, particularly one that's overseas. And a consequence of that would be lower profits and potentially lower dividends, both of which tend to reduce a share price. So the key here is just to be selective. Pick a point that you can argue well, that stays focused on the question. And what I've done is I've just highlighted a couple of examples of how you might respond for both of those arguments. There's the first one. Again, you might want to pause the video, have a read through. I've tried to keep it to sort of no more than 9 or 10 lines max, probably half a page in the exam booklet, that just tries to explain how and why this decision may lead to an increase in the market capitalisation. And conversely, if you were arguing for a negative impact, here is one point that might help explain how and why the decision would lead to a fall in the share price, lower dividends, and therefore a negative impact on market capitalisation. I'll leave it up to you to maybe have a read through those. They're not perfect, but they would certainly get to level 3. Either of those would have been enough to answer the question. Hopefully that's been useful. Quick reminder that at our grade booster workshops, we spend a lot of time unpicking exam questions and working out the best technique to use for them. And typically that results in students writing less and scoring more. So if you get a chance to come and join me and the team for those, that would be great. But in the meantime, I'll let you get back to those questions and back to your revision. So thanks for joining me.